This one came out today, okay? Came out this morning. And I had another video in mind that we were going to watch. And then when I saw this one, I was like, no, this in fact is the one that we're going to do. So same podcast. Again, there's Carl is now one of the hosts. And some other dude who was not in the last segment that we watched. He's also a bland, white, British dude. Obviously. Now, what strikes me about this clip, the thumbnail has the Joker, okay? And it says, everything is ridiculous. So I'm like, okay. Sounds interesting. But I want to acknowledge what this is going to be is kind of like a reading of headlines. And this actually reminds me of older Sargon content. Right? So what Sargon used to do was just basically like point to articles and be like, look at this crazy feminist did a thing. Therefore bad. Or something along those lines. This has a lot of that same vibe to it. But there's also like a sense in which this is completely... This is like Alex Jones. I don't know if you're familiar with Alex Jones, but how he does his show is he basically just has... Alex Jones is a little weirder, so he'll print off the articles from like CNN or whatever, and he'll have them all displayed out on his desk. And he'll be like, I got the papers right here, and we're going to go through the papers. This is essentially what we're going to get from Carl here. But in a way that's like... It's a more polished version of what Alex Jones' show is now. Rachel Maddow? No, it's not Rachel Maddow. Say what you want about Rachel Maddow, but I doubt she's just printing off the papers from the internet articles, okay?
There's also a good video by Sean. Yeah. There's also a good video by Sean and Jen called like Sargon Can't Read.
Yes.
You should watch that.
Which gets into the point that he doesn't read past a lot of these articles. I don't even think we need a background in some of these articles to know he's speaking shit half the time, but we'll go for it. We'll see where it takes us. So here is Everything is Ridiculous. Sargon of Akkad. Carl Benjamin. Carlos Benjaminus.
Carlgon.
Why is it Carlgon? What is that from?
Washing machines do better with Carlgon. It's an actual like product. It's a UK ad.
All right, here we go. Let's enjoy it. It's not going to be as good as that car ad.
Everything is ridiculous.
Great start. Everything is ridiculous. Okay. I'm intrigued. Do explain.
Just everything about the public political discourse we have now is absurd, and I am very, very tired of it at this point. So let's just begin with it. I've got just a series of stories that are just absurd in their own rights, but they just, I think, capture a sort of slice of political life from around the world.
And the sad thing is there's so many absurd stories to choose from. I mean, the
one second.
Absolutely. And like, if you were an alien who arrived on the planet and you were expecting, like...
You wanted to pause, Vienna?
Yeah, Nick, are you from the same area as this dude?
Close.
Your accents sound kind of similar.
Yeah, he's from the south. He's in... he's like a county away, not too far away at all. But, where I grew up, so yeah, the accents are pretty similar.
I will say,
I've moved up north now, so I'm a northerner.
The Twitch,
you're safe.
Yes,
the Twitch mods did not allow Tim from saying "looking white guy." But I allowed it, Tim, for you. Yes, we have not commented as well on the other just white ass looking dude over here.
He looks like a racist Weasley.
I'd like to go into understanding how they fund themselves, because they have like a thing in their description saying £5 a month, so they've got like people donating to them.
Yes. They're clearly getting some funding. The only reason I'm mentioning the like blandness of these white people is I honestly, when I first watched this, I did not think he was a different person from the last video that we watched. I thought it was one of the two. And it wasn't till when I watched a bunch more content, when it was like him and one of the other guys from the other video, and then I was like, oh, they're not the same person. They are two different people.
I can guarantee you that Sargon's exploiting his workers.
Probably.
The dude on the right in the first video looked like a knockoff version of the actor who played Harry Potter, and this looks like a knockoff racist version of the dude who played Ron Weasley.
Okay.
And I just think that they're gonna make a knockoff, like, full-throated, like, racist and transphobic Harry Potter remake soon, and it's just gonna be these dudes.
A full send.
I can't remember if it was Core.
Yeah.
If it was Core or Nom that pointed out that he looked like Elijah Wood, the last guy. I thought he looked more like Elijah Wood. Like a chubbier
I get
Elijah
those two
Wood.
confused, though. The same
Daniel
person.
Radcliffe and Elijah Wood? No.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
pretty much.
Sure.
Is Elijah Wood British?
No.
No.
Okay, good. Thank God.
I mean, he's
American.
just from the Lord of the Rings, I guess. Maybe that's why you might think that he's British. Did he put on an accident? Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he put on an accent.
I don't even remember.
yeah. Every host of this show reminds me of the classic social psychology experiment where you hand a form to a guy at a counter, he ducks under to file it, and then a different guy stands up, and the dependent variable is whether or not you even notice it's a different guy. Yes. I agree, Tim. Or only Carl stands out a little. But the only reason Carl stands out is because I recognize him. That's the only one. I've seen him before, which is why it would ruin that experiment.
I mean, his face is like known as the rape tweet guy, so big props there.
True. And let's just say his material has not improved.
Sensible management of power within society. What are they going to be debating? Well, you're not going to get it. You'd look at this and think, right, okay, I mean, if you were a foreigner, you'd be like, the West has descended into absolute chaos. The political class have lost their minds, and the people that they're ruling over have got very little they can do about it, apparently, right? So let's begin.
So he makes this comment that if like aliens came down and watched our society right now, they would just be like, the Western civilization has devolved into chaos. And I'm like, at what period of time would they arrive and not get that impression?
and why would they take the side of the West?
Oh,
The aliens.
Well, yeah, who said that about taking the side? I guess he's just, if they were to hyper-analyze the West in particular. But wouldn't they get, like, I don't know, just this whole notion is fucking silly. But it's all absurd. Everything that's happening right now is so absurd.
And with Joe Biden saying that, it was white supremacy that caused the January the 6th riot in the Capitol. White supremacy.
Wasn't anything to do with a summer of riots before telling telling people that it's all right, the media won't care.
It was...
Who is this guy, and why is he stupid?
Because he listens to the guy on the left.
I mean, I feel like Sargon's going to correct him in a second, because it had absolutely nothing to do with the Black Lives Matter rallies over the summer. You know what I mean?
It had direct orders from Donald Trump to do it.
It had to do with the election, exactly. But amazing, like, he's like, I guess, like, Sargon was looking at him, like, it's your turn to respond to something, and he's like, black people bad.
Among other things, but like it was primarily driven by a segment of Trump supporting Republicans who did not believe that Joe Biden had legitimately won the election. I am making no comment on that. That was simply their opinion. That's what drove them to go into the Capitol. There are other theories, but I'm not going to go into them because who knows. But Joe Biden says the violent, deadly insurrection on the Capitol 9 months ago, deadly only to the protesters.
Yes, to one.
Yes, Ashley Babbitt, who was shot.
I vaguely recall other people dying on that day. not just Ashley Babbitt. I'm pretty sure that there was this one cop, I think his name was Brian Sitnick, and I'm pretty sure that he was beaten severely and then died of something related to the fact that he was beaten. I'm also pretty sure that one of the people who was also a pro supporter was trampled by the crowd that was storming to the Capitol. And no one in that crowd decided that it would be a good idea to lift up their fellow comrade, but instead trampled her to death. So, nice crowd.
Because they have no empathy.
Yes.
If Corbyn had won, we would have stormed the Buckingham Palace by now.
Yeah, but that would be based. That's a little different. Nom, I think...
Yeah, but I'm sure those fucking redcoats would still be annoying about it, you know?
Yeah. I think they determined that Sitnick was not hit with the fire extinguishers, but maybe I'm getting incorrect information there. I know fire extinguishers were used elsewhere, though. I also know that some of the cops had their eyes gouged. Like, not completely out, but, like, these people, like, dug their hands, like, directly into cops' eyes and were trying to rip them out. Which, in any normal circumstance, might be a legitimate response. But not here, okay? That, and, like, the other thing is, like, he's going to go on. Okay, let me even read this. The violent, deadly insurrection on the Capitol 9 months ago, it was about white supremacy, in my opinion. Biden said on January 6th, blah, 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 blah. He placed the incident in the context of other racist episodes. Okay, da-da-da. Hate never goes away. Okay, so it doesn't explain the context here, but let me just spell this out. There were people in the January 6th crowd waving, one, Confederate flags, and two, were wearing shirts saying Camp Auschwitz, or like 6 million wasn't enough in that crowd. Okay?
Fuck them.
Now that, of course, does not represent every single person in that crowd. But if your allies are Nazis storming with you, what does that say about your views, that the Nazis are the ones on your side? Maybe you got a little white supremacy in there, maybe. Maybe, I'm just saying. I mean, you know, no offense to Joe Biden, but, like, at least he's got this part correct. Sleepy Joe is correct about the white supremacy. And good night, Hildebeest. Good night. Good night. We love you. Everyone needs to follow Hildebeest. Hildy, and they'll make cakes and stuff on Friday. I think they do it before our stream. So go check out Fondant Friday? I can't pronounce cake words correctly. Vienno, who usually corrects my wordage, might correct me here, but I don't know if they will or not.
I don't know what the thing is that
Fondant?
she's making,
It's
so
like
I don't know.
it's like a cake thing. I don't know. They have a segment. The Hildebeest is.
Yeah, I think that's fondant. Because
Tomorrow
like
is
you
the-
generally pronounce it, because I think it is like an actual English word. You don't just pronounce it like the French way, you know.
Wait, well, I say
Did
fondant.
I say
which
tomorrow,
is-
Core? I meant to say. Well, I think I said Friday because I said it was Fondant Friday. So it's definitely not tomorrow. It's Friday. But
Today's Friday.
no, it's not. It's Wednesday. Get out of here. Get out. It's Fondant Friday. Okay, I got it right. Okay, cool. But yes, go check out Hildebeest. They're awesome.
And still has no answers on why that was or
No.
who did it.
Oh, no.
Oh,
We
we know who
we
did
do
it.
know who did it.
Oh, okay.
It was some sort of special forces agent who just shot her for the sake of it. Apparently, she's been declared a dramatic threat to people, even though she wasn't armed. She was being escorted by armed police.
She was breaking through a window into the chamber when this black police officer shot her and killed her. Which they're avoiding the race of it. But, like, here's the other thing. A lot of these black police officers have come forward to say what some of the things the crowd has chanted. I mean, there's even this thing going on right now. It's called the January 6th Commission. And one of the cops testified about how the protesters were talking about killing all the N-words, including the police officer that was standing right there, who also happened to be black. It's amazing. Like, all this context, all the racial, white supremacist context surrounding this. And they read a headline that said Biden called the January 6th riot white supremacist. And rather than actually investigating or digging up any of the context, they're just like, what? What? This is the quality of material we're getting right now. Wanted to string him up. Yeah, certainly not relevant here at all. Nah. Yeah, exactly.
For some reason, she was the threat, though. But anyway, he says, it was about white supremacy, in my opinion. Yeah, but your opinion's stupid, isn't it, Joe?
Nailed it.
He was giving the
Get
speech
'em.
at the 10-year anniversary of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington.
Sleepy Joe.
He says, the through line is that hate never goes away. We had a president who appealed to the prejudice, but the good news is we ripped that Band-Aid off. Don't agree.
The party that's pushing critical race theory is fanning the flames
Yeah.
of hate. We're making sure that hate never goes away.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they were the party of slavery, Jim Crow, the KKK, now critical race theory, and they don't want to take any responsibility for the fact that they are the racial party. The Democrats have always been the racial party. And the Republicans...
What does that even mean?
Oh my god! This is Dinesh D'Souza level arguments here. We're getting the Democrats were the ones who were in support of slavery arguments here. This is what we're getting. Of course, history doesn't matter. Things never change, and the Democrats are in support of slavery and also in support of critical race theory. You know, the prominent critical race theorists in law schools that are definitely in favor of slavery. That's what's happening here.
I find it interesting that they never actually make much commentary on English politics. Because if they did, they would know how fucked we are.
No, they'll get to... This is just where they're starting, but like, I do love that we're at the level of Dinesh D'Souza being accurate here. I mean, like, if you want to learn what's going on here, why the Democrats are no longer the sort of like party that endorses the kind of racism that like supported things like slavery in the sense of the Democratic Party back then, and why the Republicans would probably be the party that would support slavery today, largely has to do with Kevin Phillips. You can read his book. Oh shit, what is it called? I think his book was called The Southern Strategy. I don't know if the book was called that, but Kevin Phillips, it was his first book, and it was on how he, working with Nixon, sort of put through the Southern Strategy. And that's when the Dixiecrats, which were the more traditional racist group of the Democrats, left and joined the Republicans. And that's why you now have this more like southern-northern split between the Republicans and Democrats. And so, and yet then they want to go, but like the Democrats, there's something like essentialized about Democrats, that somehow the Democrats that existed today, you know, the ones with Ilhan Omar and AOC and Jamal Bowman and Cory Bush, on and on and on, right? Like that somehow these people would be the ones in support of slavery. It's just fucking incredible.
Aren't, basically. But anyway, moving on. They are following my predecessor, the last president, into a deep, deep black hole of a mess. Jim Crow in the 21st century is now a sinister combination of voter suppression and election subversion. Can't talk any more about that on YouTube, so move.
I just want to see if they scroll past anything that like in the article that
can't
like,
talk any more about that on YouTube, so moving on. Condoleezza.
Oh, I missed the scroll.
My predecessor, the last president, into a deep,
I love
deep
this
black
too.
hole
We
of a
can't
mess.
talk about it on YouTube.
Jim Crow in the
move on.
21st century is now a sinister combination of voter suppression and election subversion.
No, I don't see anything.
Can't talk any more about that on YouTube, so moving on. Condoleezza Rice.
So the fact that they can't talk about it on YouTube, like, is he arguing that there actually was election subversion? I get the impression if you're not going to talk about it, you're implicitly suggesting that the election was actually stolen.
Well, they can't hint or like curveball it or anything like that. That's what I think he's trying to say.
I don't know. We can talk about it right now, because I would just say there was no election subversion. Biden won the election.
Mm-hmm.
There was no election.
What? Is this like a Mandela effect thing? We all just remember there was
Did
an
you
election?
vote?
Holy shit.
I didn't.
I don't think any of us
I didn't
voted.
vote for him.
Unless, is Elrod might have, but like, we didn't. And that's
Did I
all that
vote
matters.
for Condoleezza Rice? No,
Yeah.
I didn't vote for Condoleezza Rice.
See, exactly.
Good,
not-
good point.
There we
Good.
go.
I think I was a bit too young to vote for Gore v. Bush.
Ah. So this was going to be a mess, but here we go. Here's the thing. I just want to state right up front, not a huge fan of Condoleezza Rice. You know? I could just state that. That's all you need to know.
Rice is a white supremacist. Do you know who Condoleezza Rice is?
I am not aware. No.
She was the United States Secretary of State from 2005 to 2009. She was the 20th National Security Advisor from 2001 to 2005. She is a member of the Republican Party, and she is black. She was the first female African-American Secretary of State and the first woman to serve as National Security Advisor. So a successful black Republican woman is now an agent of white supremacy.
Well, I can only assume, being that she's a Republican, that she got there through genuine merit.
Yes.
Yeah.
This kind of like
I can't really assume.
they always do this. They always do like, you know, we don't care about like identity politics until it fits our agenda. They
Right.
always do that. They always do it. Like that's their like whole shtick. They do that all the time. It's just frustrating.
Yeah. I think here, like, the weirder parts have to do with the fact of, like, is Condoleezza Rice upholding white supremacy? And part of it is, like, she was integral in the Iraq War, which, you know, played a role in systemic international white supremacy to a large extent. But, like, for them, it's like, it's so narrowly focused to the fact that she's black, she can't participate in the structure kind of thinking, right? That's where this is coming from. Now, I think this article as well gets into like her views. She's criticizing critical race theory, and the author themselves, I think, is black, reflecting on their experience, but their response to it is simply like, one, she's black, can't be involved at all in white supremacy. Two, she's a Republican and therefore she is where she is because of merit, not because, I guess, she was an affirmative action hire or whatever fucking joke they're trying to make here. So they've achieved David Menzies humor from 2012. They're bringing back the David Menzies humor from 2012 and displaying it for us here in 2021 on the internet. So congratulations, we've made it. You know, as a society, we've come so far.
Assume the other for the Democrats.
That's a great point. Well made. She recently appeared on The View. Are you aware of The View? It's amazing.
Passingly.
It's amazing.
Is it one of those shows where middle-aged women complain about things?
Yes.
Of course.
There's a YouTube.
I mean, that's probably the only thing I'm going to agree with them saying on the show.
We have a similar program called Loose Women in England.
We have a show as well on CTV. I only remember doing a segment on it one time for the show, because I think a woman on it said that hockey is a rape culture, and Ezra like lost his shit about it. But I can't even remember the name of the show. I just remember the right wing sent their like people to harass one of the hosts because she said that. Hot take, she's bad 100% of the time. Yes, exactly.
Called Mr. Reagan, who often does videos about The View, and I really enjoy them
I'll have to check
because
them out.
it's hilarious. But anyway,
I don't think he's actually gonna
her
check
recent
it out.
appearance on The View was offensive and disgusting for many reasons. This author, who's being hosted by Yahoo News for some reason, says, but she was she was who we thought she was. Quote, a soldier for white supremacy. No one agrees. No one outside of the radical left-wing bubble thinks that Condoleezza Rice is a soldier for white supremacy.
She must be.
The radical left-wing bubble of Yahoo News?
That's what I was thinking.
Who reads Yahoo News? Who reads the op-ed section of Yahoo News? I didn't even know Yahoo News had an
The thing
op-ed
is,
section.
Yahoo News, I think Yahoo News 90% of the time legitimately copy pastes articles from other news agencies and just posts them as if they're Yahoo News' own articles. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, is their opinion section real compared to their regular news section?
Yeah, I don't know. It's his opinion. So, yeah, but where are they getting it from?
Yeah.
I didn't see anything suggesting it came from anywhere. Maybe, I think at the end they show the authors, so maybe we'll see then. But yeah, wild. The left-wing bubble of Yahoo News' opinion section. Incredible.
They're arm in arm with Larry Elder then.
Well, yeah, who's also arm in arm with like Richard Spencer.
In their eyes,
Even
maybe.
though Richard Spencer endorsed Joe Biden. So it's like, okay, well, don't know what to say. Moving on. Her thoughts on critical race.
Like, here's the thing. Not all white supremacists or you know, it's one thing saying someone's a foot soldier for white supremacy, and when you read the article, what they're talking about is her participation in these structures, whereas, like, you know, Richard Spencer's white supremacy is a lot more overt, you know, it's explicit. But that being said, it's like, there can be differences among fascists. And there are differences amongst fascists. Not all of them agree on every single point, you know. But
Hey,
they're
Jody, I'm gonna have to drop out. It's like 3 a.m. in the morning.
True.
So
Enjoy your British self.
I shall enjoy destroying Carl.
Yeah.
Good night, Nick.
And
Good night.
and thanks for coming on. And try to avoid Carl in the future, all right? Don't bump into him at the grocery store, all right?
Hey, the only time that I've bumped into Carl in the past like 5 years is this stream.
Yeah. I know. I mean, today I think it was yesterday when I saw the video. That was the first time I've seen him in a while. So,
Yeah.
there you have it. Have a good one. Have a good night.
Good night. Have a good stream. Wait.
Well, wasn't Spencer's endorsement based on how Trump was way too close to Israel? I can't remember what it was, but it was something more pragmatic. I think it was that Trump did not follow through on some of the things that they thought he would, and that was like part of it too. But it was a kind of form of acceleration. I think Nom is right, but I don't know how it fit in or what
it was like
it was.
accelerationist, but I can't remember the justification that he had for it.
Yeah.
Race theory are completely white-centric, as in they revolve around the thoughts and needs of white people, as if white people aren't people deserving of consideration or something.
Can I also say, when you are part of a regime and part of a school of thought that characterizes everything from logical thinking to science,
Manners, politeness, being on time, reading, writing.
Yeah,
These
when
are
you
all
classify
whiteness.
that as whiteness, yes.
Yeah.
Well, anybody who is saying, hey, maybe we should
Yeah.
think about something logically
Yeah.
for a second is suddenly...
It's insufferable as well, because white people didn't invent time or timekeeping. They didn't.
So we'll pause there for a second. Do you know anyone who says that, like, being polite is whiteness or white supremacy?
Yes. No, and like genuinely, in some respect, like yeah, because
Well,
the like automatic assumption that Western mannerisms are correct.
well, that's
like
why
good.
that's why I
is, like,
avoided
a facet
etiquette
of it.
or manners, because he said manners.
But that's still. Yeah, but that's still it, you know. At the same time, like I don't know. It's
I mean, like, I'm going to agree with you somewhat, but like the other part of it is just like there's going to be some semblance of politeness out of the context of like I like here's how I will frame it. Some of what they're picking up on here is that some people have made certain claims about, say, politeness or manners, etc., and their ties to white supremacy. But the thing that's missing here is that, like, I doubt any of those thinkers are saying there are no contexts where some form of politeness is kind of like okay or like legitimate. Like, being kind to people is nice. You know, and like given certain contexts, it's good to be kind to people. I don't think anyone would say that that's not the case, you know?
See, I think you're being too charitable because they're British people, so they mean, and they're rich British people, so they mean a bunch of bullshit
No,
when they're
I'm
talking about manners or politeness or whatever.
I'm saying this to criticize them. I'm saying when they because they think of politeness in the racist white supremacist way that critics might actually be criticizing. But what I'm saying is those critics themselves probably don't hang on to like some rigid notion of politeness that is the white supremacist sense, but would still have some more like nuanced view of politeness. So it's like even though they want to go and poke fun at it and be like, "Oh, these people think politeness is racist," and it's like you have decided to like strip all the context out of these like critics and just make it like a joke, you know? I think that's what I'm trying to get at. If that helped clarify.
Anyways, now that
Goodbye,
Nick is
Cord.
logged off, we can say, fuck all British people.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, oh my god. They're so smug too. That's the thing that I hate about this, is there's not a ton of content, and it's just like smug laughter. Like, we are so British.
Invent reading, writing, literacy or anything like that. All of these things were just, inherited by white people from the distant past, and yet now they're white peoples and black people aren't allowed to have them. It's like, that's horrible. Anyway,
Time, apparently, was inherited by white people from the distant past. Okay? And now white people aren't allowed to have them, apparently. In fact, maybe, I mean, I was going to say, time still exists independent of this, but you did tell us all to read that article that says, let's abolish time. So maybe time doesn't actually exist.
Fuck all measurements of time that aren't looking up at the position of the sun.
her primary argument against critical race theory is that it should not be taught in the way that makes white kids feel bad. That's not wrong.
Well, it's not just white kids that feel bad, it's
Well,
black kids as well. You tell them they're a victim.
That is incidentally where she goes with this. But yeah, Condoleezza Rice basically went on The View and said, look, I don't think we should be making any children feel bad because of their race, and your critical race theory is trying to make white children feel bad because they're white, and I think that's wrong because, persecuting children for the sins of their ancestors, and it's not even all of their ancestors, it's a small number of people who own slaves, so, and especially imagine you're like, Italian or something. Your parents came there in the early 1900s, and it's like, right, you're white, therefore you're a slave owner. And this Italian kid's just like, what are you talking about? I literally have no connection to this, but now because you're white, because it's an abstract categorical that just applies to many different kinds of people, you're now culpable for slavery. Imagine if you're from Eastern Europe. You've been under the heel of the Turks for 300 years. You get to America, it's like, listen, slave owner. It's like, get bent.
And if they're literally
Under the heel of the Turks.
Yeah, no, they're hardcore Islamophobe as well. It's just no one does this.
Did he
Sorry, go on.
just Jody, as the Eastern European here, were your ancestors under the heel of the Turk?
No? During the Ottoman Empire? I don't even fucking was Poland a part of the Ottoman Empire?
Yeah, that's what they mean. No, it never was.
No. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean that silly bit aside, nothing about teaching. I mean, like, part of it's not critical race theory, but part of like what's being objected to by these people going to like these like school board town halls and stuff like this, what's being objected to is even the acknowledgement of the actual history of race in America. And so it's like that history in and of itself shouldn't make an individual feel bad about their own actions, insofar as they were not the ones back when who did a thing. it may elicit emotions and make people feel bad if they have perpetuated either explicit racist acts or participated within structures that furthered the cause of white supremacy. But, like, I've never had a moment where I felt bad about what happened in the 1800s because I wasn't there. And I never got the impression that anyone who taught me things thought that I should feel bad for what happened. Or, like, feel personally bad that I myself did something in the 1800s, you know? Because I wasn't there. They're thinking of Greece, Yugoslavia, and Romania in the general area? Possibly.
Yeah, no, like those areas were under Turkish occupation.
And why not? Have fun.
Like,
Ottoman
part of the
Empire.
Ottoman Empire.
Everyone was having a good time in the Ottoman Empire, I'm sure. It was a perfect time with no problems.
I mean,
Everyone
Greece
was
has
hanging
been
out.
independent for more than 200 years. The Ottoman Empire collapsed over a century ago. Like, the Turkish heel has not been felt in many generations.
But they should endlessly feel bad for it. I mean, like, this is, like, the weird thing is, like, I feel like some of their views about Islam imply that, like, Muslims should feel bad about their culture and people and the harm they've done to the world, even in, like, the past. Like, they'll take it all the way back to the Crusades. I mean, even his name, like, Sargon of Akkad, like, he plays this, like, history game and, like, in the past when he had his older show, but, like, even now, like, he does, like, history segments about how, like, Britain was so great in the past. But part of their thing is, like, how, like, the Crusades were good, actually, and, like, things like this, where it's, like... And then they'll perpetuate that as, like, almost like the Muslims are bad for the crimes that were committed on their side during the Crusades and shit like this. And it's like, you're the one who worries about these historical things and feel bad about... Or find some sort of weird nostalgic pride in some sort of mythical past that you've created in your head. And who else has done that throughout history? You know? Where, God forbid, we just realistically teach people the facts of what actually happened in our history. That's going to make white people feel
Jody.
bad.
Hey, Jody, what's your favorite crusade?
I don't have honestly, I know very little about the Crusades.
Ooh, Fourth Crusade. That's when the Catholics sacked Constantinople because they were annoyed with the Orthodox. And then they went home.
Nice.
They sacked Constantinople, that they were there to help. That was the whole thing about what the Crusades were, is they were there to help the Byzantines. And then they sacked their capital city, and then they went home.
They helped, you know? That's how
Best
you help.
crusade.
When I helped my friends move into their house, I just torched their home and went home. And I was like,
Well,
"You're
and stole other
welcome."
stuff before
Yeah.
you torched it.
True.
Two cards, yes. Children's Crusade, I guess that's a second.
I didn't even like
No,
how many
Fourth
Crusades
Crusade's
were
gotta
there?
be. Ooh, like 11.
And do we count the Iraq War? Because Bush called it a crusade.
No, because it wasn't. Although I guess the Fourth Crusade didn't make it to Palestine either. So, it's like, yeah, who knows? I don't know. Maybe it needs to be a label that'll be applied in the future.
Right.
I don't think it's a crusade counted as a crusade yet.
Right. That's a good point. We'll need future historians to determine the number of crusades that have happened in the interim.
Although, like, even then, it's contextual because there were also like the Northern Crusades when Finland was conquered by the Christians, and then because Sweden was like, we cannot send troops that far south. That's a lot of work. Can we go to these people instead? And the Pope was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
That's amazing.
Same with Spain and the Reconquista. The Spanish were like, hey, we got our own Muslim problem over here. They're being tolerant to Christians and Jews and just like everybody, and we really hate that. And the Pope was like, yeah, sure, whatever, do your crusade over there.
Have fun. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
From an ethnic group called Slavs.
Yes.
Where
yeah,
do you
exactly.
Think, where do you think
Yeah.
the word comes
Yeah,
from?
the etymology of slave is from Slav because the Turks kept enslaving them. But anyway, so they carry on. Why should we whitewash U.S. history to protect the feelings of...
Like, what do you think they think the point of bringing that up is? Is it to be like somehow slavery can't be white supremacist because the Turkish had slaves?
I genuinely don't know.
It's like, I mean, no one, I don't think anyone has ever said that slavery can only exist because of white supremacy. It's just the legacy of slavery in the United States is directly the result of white supremacy. I don't know, like, learning about history isn't that hard. You could just pick up a book instead of reading Yahoo News opinion sections, you know? Maybe a good start.
Of white children, because we don't want to create a generation of catatonic, like, people who have absolutely no understanding of why they're not bad people inherently. Excuse me, I misspoke. We should whitewash US history even more than we already do. First of all, what about the feelings of black children? Okay, well, teaching black children they're the perennial victims of white children is not good either. Don't know why I have to say that. But anyway, also this, white children and white adults should absolutely feel bad about the past atrocities committed by white Americans. They should feel guilty. Why? They didn't do anything. Like, if one of this person's ancestors was a rapist, should they feel guilty about that? Of course
Absolutely.
not.
Is this just editorializing from
Yes.
this article?
It's all editorial.
Is it just editorializing? Like, it's an opinion section of Yahoo News. I mean, whether or not someone should feel or not feel bad is, this person is allowed their editorial opinion, and I don't care that they hold it, to be honest. I am not personally offended about them thinking that people should feel. I mean, it depends. I think they said they should feel guilty or something like this. If they read it, they should feel guilty. They should cringe at what their ancestors did. I mean, but here's the thing: is cringing at what your ancestors did. Sure, okay. Like that's why, like the wording here. Like I tried to be careful earlier because it's like it's not so much about like. I framed it in terms of feeling personally bad as if I did the thing. It's a different thing to have like a reflection that like what the past was shitty. And that's perfectly acceptable to have because yes, it was shitty. And yes, we should reflect on that shittiness, you know? We should, as this author put it, they should cringe at what their ancestors did. Yeah, sure. I don't have a problem with that. Like, once you read it in context, it doesn't sound that bad, to be honest.
Editorializing. It's an opinion piece, but like, it's just awful, the things that this person is asking for. You know, let's have not just collective guilt, but ancestral collective guilt. Why would you ask for that?
And how far back do you go until you reach a reasonable cut-off point?
You go as far back as is necessary to win this argument. That's what it is. And so on The View, Rice suggests that learning about America's racial history could make black people feel disempowered by race, but it had the exact opposite effect on me. Are you sure? Is this what empowerment looks like, is it? Because it looks like you're deeply bitter against white people and hate them.
It is amazing to me that you could read an article with this, like, that's someone's opinion critically reflecting and have, like, a take that the takeaway that this person hates.
Bitter against white people and hate them.
That this person hates white people. I mean, I don't even care if they did hate white people. Like, what? Who the fuck cares? What if they have experience and justification for that? Like, I don't give a shit. I hate white people. There, I said it. How brave am I? You said something so brave.
So very brave. I'm definitely not reading the Wikipedia page for the Crusades.
Sounds like
for
a
something that they
whiny-
didn't do and their ancestors may have done. Some of their ancestors. But anyway, they finish with, I cannot accept a country that contorts itself to avoid causing white pain. Sounds like you just hate white people, to be honest. I'm not here to comfort white people, and Lord knows I'm never going to center them. So you don't want to live in the same country. This guy's an MSNBC contributor.
No surprise there.
Yeah, ex-MSNBC, I think he is. If you don't want to live alongside white people, there are lots of countries that don't have any. Like,
I don't know that there's a single country in this world that doesn't have any white people. Like, maybe, but like, the world is so globalized now to a large extent.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like hypothetical ones. Like, I don't even think there's countries that are like even if you're like, oh yes, technically an embassy is in fact the sovereign territory of the nation whose embassy it is. Like even then,
you still have to go off of it. Yeah.
Kind of everywhere.
Like,
There
I was
is
even
no
thinking,
escape, unfortunately.
even if you were to say something like the DPRK, because they're a little bit more, let's say, guarding of their borders, there's still like white tourists that show up. So, like, I don't know, and there could be white people that live there. I'm just talking out of my ass here. I have no clue. But the fact is, there's definitely white tourism that shows up there. So it's like there's people there currently. You know what I mean? Like, and like constantly flowing through. So I don't know. I don't know. Wakanda? How do you not remember Wakanda for this long? Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not think of Wakanda. You're right, you know? What? Jesus Christ.
Atlantis too, I guess.
I mean, like, again,
Mars.
they skipped so much of like the meat of this article. Like, you saw him scroll by it really fast. Even this last paragraph, when you read it in full, it doesn't sound that bad. Because I cannot accept a country that contorts itself to avoid causing white pain. I'm not here to help comfort white people. Lord knows I'm never ever going to center them. Yeah, okay. What's wrong with this? I mean, like, he doesn't have to center them. Why should it be his responsibility to center them? Why should he care about their comfort just by, like, when white people will have a shit fit merely pointing out that their ancestors did shitty things? Like, this is the fucking point. Like, yeah. I mean, like, look at what's happening in the United States right now. Some people merely were like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should learn about our past and the things that happened. And then they started showing up at school board meetings being like, we are a great country, and how dare you teach my kids anything else? Ah! And then they voted for racist people and started doing racist things. I don't know. Shit sucks.
loads of countries that don't have any, incidentally.
The living conditions might not be up to your typical standards.
No, which is presumably why you're not going to go there. But, you know, there are lots of non-white countries. Anyway, what this means is that black people want Republicans want black people to disappear. Go to the next one, John. This is a few months old, but it's just one of those ridiculous headlines.
Republicans want black people to disappear. Sport leagues can help stop them. By Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I know from personal experience that protest has its cost, but by banding together we can stop those who would subvert democracy. Okay?
Republicans want black people to disappear.
If I just say it, it's true.
Yeah, it's nonsense. I mean,
We need to start arming basketball militias. God, the fucking... Oh my god.
What?
The, like... I'm trying to think of phrasings for it, but, like... The, like, partisan unit names during the, like, Second American Civil War are gonna fuck so hard. Like...
What?
God, they'll be so good. It'll all just be, like, sports references, probably. But... Like... Oh, it'll be so fun. The names, pretty much nothing else will be, I'm sure. But
I mean, again, we're probably not going to get a lot of context here either for this article. But, like, Republicans want black people to disappear. I don't think that's an unjustified statement. I mean, Paul Gosar is like a legit fucking Nazi who's a Republican congressman right now. My dad's password to things was Kareem when I was a kid. Nice. He's a TV writer? He's involved with Veronica Mars? Awesome. Yes, hacking mute his dad starting right now.
Black senators and congressmen in America.
Was it Frederick
Douglass?
Yeah, Frederick Douglass.
Wasn't a Democrat.
Oh, no.
You know? Wasn't the Democrats that...
They gotta go all the way back then to find a Republican black person. They were just talking about Condoleezza Rice. There was a way easier to go to. I mean, you could have even mentioned Colin Powell. I mean, none of them were, like, Congress people. Was it Tim Scott? Tim Scott was, like, the only recent black Republican, wasn't it? I guess that's far enough back to win his argument. Oh, God. I'm trying to think of how many black Republicans there are. I'm going to type that in right now. How many black Republican congressmen? List of African American United States representatives. Oh man, they're just gonna list them all the way in the beginning here. Okay. I mean, let me pull this up because this is going to fascinately elucidate some of what's going on here, right? So this is just a generalized list of African American Republicans. Okay. So obviously it starts here. We got the first one, Joseph Rainey, Republican. Notice. They're like all Republicans, okay? Republican, they're just all Republicans. Okay? And then all of a sudden there was some sort of thing that happened. Look, all of a sudden, they're all blue. Maybe.
They switched colors.
Okay, and then then all of a sudden we got a Republican, right? I had to wait till 1997. So that was
wow.
The switch happened in the 1930s. 1930s when the switch started to happen, and it wasn't until the 90s when they elected a black Republican. Okay?
Okay, now continue scrolling down. How many we got now?
Oh, we got a second one in from 95 to 2003. And, okay. All right. Oh! We got a couple more. Tim Scott was the one that I mentioned. I think he's a senator now, but he's not running again, I think. That's 2011 to 2013. And then Alan West, okay, 2011 to 2013. Then we got a Will Hurd, 2015 to 2021. So Will Hurd was in there for a while. Mia Love, 2015 to 2019. And then we got two more. Brian Donalds currently is elected, and Burgess Owens currently elected. So there's two. In the entire Congress, there is two Republican black congressmen.
I wonder if Burgess is related to Candace.
Burgess Owens. I mean, I'm sure that if he was, it would have popped out in like the intro to it. But I don't see any cool facts. Personal life.
Sad.
No, nothing jumps out. Two of them. Which is why they have to go all the way back to pick up Frederick Douglass. I wonder, yeah, shit. I mean, he wasn't even the first. When did Frederick Douglass come in here? I don't even see Frederick Douglass. Oh, I did?
You passed him. He's up there. He's got the black hair that's almost like triangle-y.
Well,
Up.
I
There.
usually...
Nope.
Him?
Never mind.
That's Benjamin Turner.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, that's why I stopped on him for a second. Maybe Frederick Douglass was never a congressman.
I don't think he was ever elected, no. So
they had to go all the way back, and they didn't even choose anyone who was elected. That is incredible. Great. Was an American social reformer, abolitionist. Okay. Da, 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 da. So he was never elected to anything. Political party, Republican. So he was a Republican. He just was never... I wonder if he even ran, or was he just... I mean, he must have if they called him a Republican. But...
I think he was a advisory type position.
Yeah. Interesting. Look at that.
Frederick Douglass would have joined the IRA.
Incredible.
Fought to free the slaves, but no, it's the Republicans that want blacks to disappear. Like Condoleezza Rice, what was it? First female African American Secretary of State, but black people got to disappear. Republicans, hate them for some reason. We're not going to waste any time on this one. Let's move on.
My God! Let's bring up this thing. Make a Dinesh D'Souza level argument about how the Republicans were always the same, and then just move on without acknowledging it. They're just going to ignore Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, someone who might know a little something about race relations in the United States and about the Republican Party. Someone who might know something. We're just going to ignore everything he has to say and just move on. Because Frederick Douglass was a Republican. Fucking incredible.
Is Biden a white supremacist? I think he might be. Do you know why? Because he did the OK sign.
Oh
That's why. Look at him. What a Nazi.
He's rubbing it in our faces.
He is. He's a member.
What is this from? Is this from the Washington Post? No, or Washington Times? What
Secretary of State.
1 second.
But, black people, for some reason, waste any time on this one. Let's move on.
This is the Washington Times. This is the Moonies newspaper.
Hell yeah.
Isn't that the
We're
Moonies?
Golden Virgins.
Look, type it in. Washington Times. Pretty sure this is the Moonies. Oh, I didn't want that. I want the Wikipedia. The Washington Times is an American conservative daily newspaper published in Washington, D.C. that covers general interest topics. Da, 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 da. The Washington Times was founded on May 17th, 1982 by the Unification Movement leader Sun Young Moon. Look at that.
We love the Moonies. We love the Moonies.
So my guess that what's going on here in this article is they're going to try to do a gotcha on liberals somehow because they're like, look, Biden made the symbol or something. But they're already making it out to sound like what the Washington Times is doing is I don't know. Let's fucking listen to this. Jesus Christ.
Biden a white supremacist? I think he might be. Do you know why? Because he did the OK sign.
Oh,
That's why. Look at him. What a Nazi.
He's rubbing it in our faces.
He is. He's a member of the Democratic Party. He's doing white supremacist gestures. What more do you need?
He's gatekeeping who's black and who isn't.
He is. He absolutely is. So Biden was asked a question about what would count as a fair share of the taxation burden for rich people and corporations. And part of his answer, he noted that some corporations paid zero and went zero in a weird way. But that also means okay, and that's been called a white supremacist symbol by numerous leading left-leaning analysts. And so there we go. Biden's a Nazi.
Confirmed.
Anyway, moving on to Australia.
What?
Got him.
What? All the article has said that, liberals call this symbol a white supremacist symbol. Therefore, when Biden just, offhandedly makes that gesture, the Washington Times is doing the gotcha. It's not even like people were going after Biden, as a Nazi for making that symbol. This is such a nothing story. What do they, I wonder, they must have, a Google alert thing that just notifies them whenever, a news story uses the word white supremacist. And they're like, oh, we have to talk about it. I want to read the whole article here, so I got it pulled up here. So it goes here. So this is exactly like what they read. So then it goes, the gesture commonly used to mean zero and okay has been called a white supremacist symbol by numerous left-wing analysts. Those analysts also have piled onto its, analysts have also piled onto its use by mainstream Republican politicians and nondescript civilians, calling it prima facie evidence of racism. So what they're doing is criticizing, well, why aren't they calling out Biden when, like, they've called out other people for prima facie using it? For example, longtime Republican legal operative Zena Bash, while sitting behind Judge Brett Kavanaugh during his 2018 confirmation hearings, twice had her fingers making the OK sign, prompting days of speculation about racist dog whistles, except for, didn't she work with Stephen Miller, who's a huge racist? I remember that being part of the story. In another case, Minnesota State Senator Roger Chamberlain, during a debate on a school funding bill, made the same zero gesture to emphasize that he opposed any money going to certain ends. But State Senator Omar Fatah, a Democrat, said, "We know that this is a white power symbol. We know Senator Chamberlain is interested in..." Okay, yeah, cool. So he's interested in fascist media. Okay, sure. That's the end. And then in 2019, the Anti-Defamation League added the OK sign to its list of white supremacist signs. So what is this article? And why would they cover this? What is happening? What is... What world do we live in?
Australia, they're in a new Soviet regime. This is embarrassing to read, and it's just awful. I can't stand what's going on. So Australia's second largest state emerged from what experts and local media called the world's longest lockdown. Well done, Victoria. They have finally given you your freedoms back, but with caveats. So apparently 70% of the people, the adults living in this state, got their double vaccination. So now the benign powers that be, the Soviet regime that's ruling over them, said, you may now go to the pub.
Tim, are you still here? You want to tell us about the Soviet regime of Australia? Jesus Christ. I mean, like, let's just compare this smug asshole. Let's go UK COVID, all right? And let's go deaths. All-time deaths, UK, we got 140,000 people. Now let's go Australia COVID. A 1,448 deaths. And it's looking bad now. It's getting ahead of them. They're having their first major outbreak. Because Australia was relatively under control of it through most of the pandemic. And now it's starting to go up. But as you can tell, they are decent. Well, 61.9%. But I think they're lagging behind. They're still raising. So what did the UK have for vaccinations here? 67. So they've had the vaccine for much longer. And Australia has almost already caught up with them. Fun times. But please, Carl of the UK, continue to mock Australia about this.
How benevolent of them.
Yep. The 6.7 million residents can now leave their homes for any reason. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. How freeing that is.
Even if I just want to?
Yeah, if you can just go for any reason.
Wow.
You're not confined to home arrest. Although you will need proof to show full vaccination to enter public venues. Like if you haven't been double vaccinated, you're not going into a restaurant, you're not going to school, and if you do have these things, you can go to restaurants and go back to school, and there's no longer a 9 p.m. curfew.
Freedom with limits doesn't sound like freedom.
Great insight, Chief.
I hate this. I can't do another.
No,
How
we
much
might end
fucking
it soon.
longer is this video?
We might end it soon, but just like, what is happening? What is happening to society here? Freedom without limits isn't really freedom. Okay, alright, bud. You know what? I would have more respect for these people if they just disobeyed all traffic laws and like drove on the sidewalks and spent the rest of their lives in prison.
I would have more respect for these people if they were at least fucking entertaining. They did anything.
Why? This is what like blows my mind to this. Thousands of people watch this. Who's watching it? And like just like do they? I want to know like what it is. Like do they get their like thoughts reflected back to them? And it's just that feeling of belonging, like, oh yes, tell me about freedom one more time, Daddy. Oh yes, and then like they're just like sucked into it. Like, what is it that makes this content at all appealing to them? I don't get it. Like, because it's so devoid of content. Like, they're just like sarcastically being like, "Ooh, they're gonna allow you to go to restaurants." Ooh, like, really? That's all you have to offer? That's your only critique here? You can't spend a little time sort of like unpacking why we shouldn't have a vaccine mandate? Why maybe you should be allowed to go to a restaurant and spread disease? Why you should be allowed to do that? Maybe like
you've spent more time unpacking their bullshit than they've spent like.
I mean, we've also spent time making fun of them.
Shit. I know, but like they've
Talking
also been
about
trying to make
diseases,
fun
people.
of what they're talking about, right? Like they just literally don't have anything to say. It feels like
This is why like it feels like Alex Jones to me, because this is all Alex Jones does. I mean, the only difference there is Alex Jones has like some semblance of charisma, because he'll be in it, but like he'll have moments where it's like, oh my god, and now like I could feel already that the demonic pressures are coming in, and like we need to defeat the evil demons and Yet
Yeah.
they're just like they don't
like
even
Alex
have any of that.
Jones. Say what you will about the guy, he's fucking crazy and he's fun to watch. Like he's got a personality. He's got like anything.
Yep.
But, like these guys are just like, oh wow, oh, Condoleezza Rice was a Secretary of State. Moving on.
We should,
Like
and the right wing funds them. I fucking hate it. I wish, you know what? I really wish that George Soros was like they always say he was, and that George Soros is just running around throwing money at people that just sit around reading headlines off of articles. I wish. And then I would be like, George Soros, please, just give me a taste. Give me a taste so I didn't have to worry about finances anymore, please. These ukes are just low energy. Low energy ukes, you know?
they are.
Okay, we're gonna skip. I wanna hit what the other headlines are. One of them was like super racist. We don't have to go over their covering of it. What is the maximum penalty for children not wearing a face covering when required? Okay, so this is still the Australian thing. I don't care. Okay. Masks to be mandatory again in Parliament for staff but not MPs. Okay, I don't care about that either. So this is a uke story. Finally, they're getting to their own politics, the uke politics. And they're going to complain that Boris Johnson wants people to wear masks again in Parliament. Which is like, okay, cool. Then we get, what is this? Holiday makers may need 3 COVID vaccines to travel abroad next summer. Like, this is the other thing. Like, they're into the I wanted to, like, reach back and hit some of these points only to, like, stress. These people were the ones who sold themselves as skeptics. And yet, they're the ones that are hardcore vaccine and pandemic denialists. And that just fucking sucks. Joanna Lumley suggests wartime rationing to solve climate crisis. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know who she is, but why not? This is the one story where like I couldn't believe this is the one that like popped out to me, okay? So this says teenage killer who executed rival in broad daylight named for the first time. And they shared this article. This killing happened a year ago, and I guess they're just releasing the name now. Now, we're going to play some of this, just so I can point out how fucking racist these people are. And we can end it on that note. Because they're pretty fucking racist with how they talk about this story. So here we go.
Things are happening on our streets and no one wants to talk about them. This happened a few days ago. You don't hear anything about it because who cares? Who cares if one black kid kills another? Well, I say kid, but like young men kill another on a Coventry street. Who cares? Right? So this gang member executed a rival with a shotgun on the streets.
Gang of peace.
Yeah, murder.
I want to pause here and say as well that they're saying no one's talking about this, but they're reading it in a news source of some kind. Someone's talking about it.
I mean,
people are writing about it.
And the gang of peace thing is definitely like it's the religion of peace thing.
Yes.
About Islam. Like,
yes.
And
I have no clue what the religion of these people is. My grammar was off there because I'm tired, but you know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what the religion is.
Murderer Karen Monga, 19, is already serving a life sentence for killing Abdul Zassan as he walked home from a mosque. He bled to death after sustaining horrific internal injuries from 2 blasts out of a car window. So real problem here. Real problem we're not talking about. Fake problems we're talking about constantly.
You could imagine.
And notice as well that like this comes off of all those COVID stories. So you have like thousands of people dying of a pandemic. And you can just be like, fake story. We don't need to talk about this. This is silly. Let's hyper-focus on a murder that occurred a year ago. And be like, why aren't people talking about the murder, the one murder? Out of all murders that happen, the one that happened a year ago, where the perpetrator and the victim both happen to be black. Why aren't people talking about this one specifically, out of everything else we could be talking about?
Who could have been caught in crossfire there? If it's just in the middle of the street, someone drives past.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I've noticed, like, in this instance, it's like, oh my god, people around could have been injured by the acts that occurred. Meanwhile, how dare you even wear a mask or get vaccinated, or they force you to do something? Because if you just happen to do a dangerous activity around somebody when it's involving white people spreading disease, that's perfectly okay. But like, let's talk about all the people that could have been injured who were bystanders by this thing that happened.
That's assuming that this guy isn't important enough to object to being murdered on the street himself. I think he is important enough to object to. But you are right. Obviously, it could have been a mother and a child, which would have been even more tragic. But it's still a tragedy on its own. But again, no one wants to talk about it because why? Because there's a black kid or black guy shooting another black guy. Oh, I'd rather talk about climate change. Thanks very much. This is a bit sticky, isn't it? But this was done.
I mean, this is the thing that bugs me. Like, we talked about how boring these people are and, like, their boring reach and how, like, just depressingly boring this whole shtick is. And yet it's just filled with this vile racism. Like, I almost feel like maybe people drop out of this video. And then, like, only the die-hard people who are committed reach this point. And now they're being fed the fucking racist bullshit. That can really motivate people to do, like, serious fucking damage in the society, you know? And this is on YouTube. Again, YouTube claims it wants to, like, remove this shit from their platform, and yet here it is. How many times do we stumble upon these assholes doing racist shit like this? Sorry to cut you off there in the middle of your side.
No, that was it. I don't think I had anything else.
Yeah.
In broad daylight last year on a Coventry street, he fired the gun from the back of a stolen VW Golf that was driven by a 15-year-old. Mongo was found guilty of conspiracy to murder and jailed for life and served a minimum of 27 years by Birmingham Crown Court. Both were electronically tagged at the time due to their suspected involvement in other offences. Why not? And the tagging information showed they were in the street at the time of the murder, and it was a stolen vehicle that was, of course, found burnt out by the end of it. Unbelievable. Just I went to university in Coventry. I mean, there was actually a drive-by
8
shooting
months.
outside of my house when I was there. So I
Thank you, Dab. Do you want me to dab, Kevils? Do I need to dab to earn your 8-month subscription? And I need to fix my subscriptions, which is why you didn't get a fanfare. But I still love you. No? Okay. What do you want me to do? I will do whatever you need me to do, Keffels, to earn your respect. Shout out as well to Keffels for interviewing Garfield Eats person. And asking him the most important questions of all, which is whether or not Garfield in fact eats pussy. You know, I personally needed to know the answer to that, and I was actually very disappointed that he did not give you an answer. You know, I came hoping for an answer, and I did not get it.
Whoa, Jody came to Garfield Eats.
Have you ever had one of their lasagnas?
I have not, because they're closed.
He told me that he talked to Jim Davis about Garfield porn. That's all I needed to know. Amazing. I did not catch that part of it, but amazing. I too wanted to know if Garfield eats pussy. I'm sure everyone here already follows Keppel, but you should go follow Keppel and have fun with that. We're almost done here, Keppels. We're just going to finish watching these two people be racist by the end of the show. So that's how we're going.
Jody, we still have the Wigan Kebab video to
Oh,
watch.
and then we're going to watch a Wigan Kebab video. My mistake. I'm sorry. You can actually order it frozen and have it delivered to your door? You know, yeah, Vienna. Why have you yet tried the Garfield Eats lasagna that you could have delivered right to your door?
Because the shipping from Toronto now is pretty expensive versus when there was one in town.
I loved how he wanted to be added to LGBT like Ace isn't already a thing, unless there's a distinction there. Who are you talking about, Muta? C for celebrate? Who wanted
Garfield
this?
wanted that?
Yeah, or John, or Sargon. Oh, Garfield Eats?
Jim Davis?
C for celibate to LGBT.
Sure.
All right. I didn't know celibate was a sexual orientation. But sure. Or yeah, but those are like involuntary celibates. Like I don't know. A lot of weird stuff going on with that. Anyways, racism.
I guess nothing's changed in the last 20 years, but it's just these are things that are going on that real problems that real people have to deal with. And instead we're talking about rationing for climate change. We're talking about whether MPs have to wear masks. No, they don't, but their servants do. And all of these other like non-things that otherwise aren't killing. Well, I suppose some of them are killing people. But anyway, I just can't.
My God! I suppose some of them are killing people. Like maybe, like I don't know, climate change killing people. Global pandemic. Isn't that so fucking incredible? I have to hear that one more time. Just listen to how fucking absurd this
But their
is.
servants do, and all of these other like non-things
Non-things.
that otherwise aren't killing. Well, I suppose some of them are killing people. But anyway, I just can't stand the state of the world. And there we go.
Yeah. Well,
I feel so confident. I feel like, you know, they brought it around, and like, you know, they started off the segment saying everything's absurd. And his example of things being absurd is I'm going to bring up one murder that happened a year ago, fearmonger over it, and then say, like, why are we talking about all these other things that are killing way more people when we could focus on this one murder done by a racial group I don't like, so we can hyper-focus on that. Fucking incredible. I love, you know, personally, I love the state of our society. Everything's great. Everything's great.
Hello, my rebels. Hello, my rebels. I'm a good boy. I'm a weirdo.